Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. So if you've been around here any time at all, you know that I like to experiment with things, try different things, think outside of the box, that type of thing. So when Cricut released Smart Vinyl and Smart Iron-On for the new Cricut Maker 3 and Cricut Explore 3, I had to put it to the test on my Cricut Explore Air 2 and my original Cricut Maker. Will these two machines cut smart materials without a mat? Let's find out. First, I'm going to try to cut something really small, just in one corner of the Smart Vinyl, and see what happens. So this is Smart Vinyl, it's not Smart Iron-On. I do have my fine point blade installed. It does fit under the guides on both sides. I went ahead and hooked up my machine to, I'm using my mobile device, and I went ahead and set the type to vinyl. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the button and see what happens. So it did feed into the machine. And the go button is flashing, so we'll go ahead and hit that and try to cut. So it is finished cutting, so I'm going to press unload, and it appears to have cut. So let's weed this and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to trim around this, but I'm going to show you what happened at the top. So I'm not going to trim that top away. Just start here at the top, peel this back. So it took a lot of space at the top because it was expecting that area of the mat to be there and your vinyl to be on the mat. So there is no option to choose matless cutting with the regular Maker or Explorer. So I had to tell the machine that this was on the mat, even though it was not. So there will be extra area on the side and extra area on the top where it will not cut. Otherwise, however, everything seems to have cut fine, and I'm able to weed away the design. So now let's try a little something longer. I will note that you'll only be able to do up to 23.5 inches because that's the maximum area with the Maker as far as like being on a mat. So regular Maker or regular Explorer, that's all you're going to be able to do as far as length. My design is like 11.5 by 21 something. And I'm just going to put this in the machine in the same way. So I will note I've used this roll before for another project, and I just cut it off straight. So you do want to make sure this end is cut very, very straight before adding it in, because that's what's going to determine how straight it will go into the machine. All right, and so now I have everything set up in Design Space, and I'm just going to load my material. And now I'm just going to press the C to cut. So now it's done cutting, and I'll remove it from the machine. All right, so I do recommend cutting it off. So this is the paper trimmer that is 13 inches wide from Cricut. And I do recommend trimming with that so that your end is super straight. So I'm just gonna line it up with the cut and then just cut that. And that way I have a straight end to start next time. So now once again, let's take a look at the cut and see if this actually worked. So you can see it is weeding pretty good actually. So I'm just going to continue to weed this entire thing, and then we'll take a look at what I cut, how big it is, and maybe cut some iron-on without the mat with the maker and see what happens. And here is that design completely weeded. It looks amazing. So yes, you can cut the smart vinyl without a mat on your maker with cuts that are up to the 23.5 inches long and 11.5 inches wide. So let's try iron-on in the same way and see what happens. All right, I have my design loaded and ready to go, and it's mirrored. It's about 11.5 inches wide and 13 or so, 14 inches long. I have the smart iron-on from Cricut, and I have it shiny side down towards the machine. And I'm going to push it in and load the material. I have my material setting at everyday iron-on, and I'm going to hit the button to make it cut. Now it's done. We'll unload our material and let's take a look at the cut. So as was the same with the vinyl, I will use this cutter to make sure I get the cut really, really straight for the next time I use this. And then we can just start weeding our design. So it appears that everything cut perfectly. So I'll just keep weeding this, and then we'll come back, take a look at the design, and maybe even cut some smart cardstock. And here is that design with all of the excess weeded away. And as you can see, it cut perfectly. So now I'm going to try something on smart cardstock and see what happens. All right, and here is the smart cardstock. And I have it set to medium cardstock setting. Then we're just going to press the C to cut. Now we'll unload our paper and take a look at the cut. We could peel this back now, add it to a card, something like that, and it is sticky, so it's an adhesive cardstock. So there you have cutting the sticker paper cardstock on a maker. So now I'm going to do these same experiments on an Explore Air 2 and see what happens. So using my Explore Air 2, I cut smart vinyl without a mat. So this one I did trim the edge before I weeded it so I could use that scrap for another project, but this one is like 23.5 inches long and it cut amazingly. And then I cut smart iron-on, again with the Explore Air 2, again without a mat. And this is a project that's 11.5 wide and 12, 13 long. And then I cut smart paper with my Explore Air 2 as well, and I just cut these balloons and actually cut them out of the same sheet that I used for the maker, but on the Explore Air 2 without a mat. So there you have that you can cut smart materials on your Explore Air 2 as well as your maker. So I think you can see the answer is yes, I was successful in cutting smart materials on my Cricut Explore Air 2 and original Cricut Maker without a mat. So I cut anything from a very small little decal to a vinyl for a big sign on my maker. Plus, I put it to the test on the Explore Air 2 as well. And then I couldn't stop at vinyl, right? So I had to try the iron-on as well. And that also worked on my maker as well as my Explore Air 2 with some rather large designs. Then I went ahead and tried that smart paper sticker cardstock on both the maker and the Explorer and was successful in cutting it as well. So what does all of this mean? This does mean, at least for me, that the Smart Vinyl and Smart Iron-On work without a mat on both the Cricut Explore Air 2 and the Cricut Maker. However, what these two machines are missing are the sensors on the inside that the Maker 3 and Explore 3 have. Those sensors help to keep that material straight. So when you're talking about a 12-foot cut, which is what the Maker 3 and Explore 3 can do on vinyl, that has a tendency, even if you're off just a little bit in the beginning, it will be way off by the time you get to the end of your cut. And that can totally mess up your project, your machine, everything, and get jammed inside there. So while I was able to use these, you'll notice that I couldn't go any larger than a mat size. So I had to keep it within that 11.5 by 23.5 inch size range. That would be for the extra large mat. I did not have any problems with the material like crumpling on the sides or getting jammed when I stayed within those cutting parameters. So I would say, I mentioned it a couple times, you need to make sure that the end is completely 100% straight. I use my paper cutter for that. Make sure it's straight with every time that you put the material into your machine. And I would definitely stay within those cutting parameters of the 11.5 by 23.5. But if you want to ditch the mat and not have to worry about the mat being sticky enough, is your mat messed up? Do you have a long mat to cut your design? If you want to eliminate all those questions on your Explore Air 2 and Cricut Maker, I definitely think you could try out the Smart Vinyl and Smart Iron-On for yourself. I think you will like the way it cuts on your machines. Now, what I used was the vinyl setting, the everyday iron-on setting, and the medium cardstock setting for my cutting parameters. And then it just sort of assumes it's on the mat, so you will need a little bit of extra room at the top, and it won't cut quite as far on the sides as the Explorer 3 or the Maker 3 would do. Now, if you want to extend beyond that 23.5 inch cutting length into those 4-foot cut, 9-foot cut, 12-foot cuts, then head back to my videos on the Maker 3 and the Explorer 3, and I think you will find that you will be pleasantly surprised with everything those machines can do, including those machines cut 2 times faster than these machines. I think you'll be super impressed with that as well. The other thing with the Explorer 3 and the Maker 3 is that you can get a roll holder that attaches to the tray. I played around with that a little bit with these. I didn't film it. And there's really no way for you to attach it to the tray with these two machines. So the roll holder would not be able to be used with these. So you would just use it like I did in the video with just the roll like on the table feeding into the machine. It still works that way, but the roll holder is super convenient. If you get the Explorer 3 or the Maker 3 down the line, I would definitely consider purchasing that as well. And I'll link to a video I have on the roll holder as well, just in case you're curious. So I hope this video helped you answer the question of, can smart materials be used in the Explorer Air 2 or the Cricut Maker, the original Cricut Maker, and what do the cuts look like? And so now you can give it a try if you would like to, or stick with regular vinyl since you really can't cut larger than that mat anyway. Just totally depends on what you want to do, but hopefully this helps you decide which way you want to go. So if you like this video, learned something new, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, please ask those in the comment section below. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I love to experiment with things, constantly shooting videos about it, and you don't want to miss any of those. So thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.